So what is happening right now? Is this the thing that you're saying they were trying to bankrupt you now? Is this part of the whole FBI thing or the raiding thing?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of yeah, there's some people that don't like what I stand for and the truths that I've shared. I went a bit loud on TikTok and
Yeah.
went a bit viral. And as a result, yeah, I had the feds raid my home, which was quite confronting. So there's some legal things going on. And I just see it's all part of the process to,
Silence the truth.
pardon?
To silence the truth.
Yeah, I've definitely been silenced because there is an ongoing investigation, and I'm respecting that and I'm choosing to remain silent.
Yeah.
But my silence, it doesn't mean compliance.
Hello, my loves. This is Johanna Burkhart. I am a multidimensional channel, teacher, healer, and author. And I am obsessed with all things metaphysical, esoteric, galactic, and of course, the healing journey. And I'm here to share my stories, my wisdom, and my teachings about being human in the illusion that we call reality. Welcome to Cosmic Blonde. Hello, my loves. I am really excited about today's guest. We had such a good chat in our pre-interview. Her name is Abbey Rose. She is the spiritual accountant, a trailblazing truth teller who transforms financial chaos into sovereignty, showing people that they are the real currency and guiding them to create soul-aligned wealth, freedom, and legacy by reclaiming their power. Abby assists impact driven leaders to create, manage, and protect their wealth using practical and spiritual concepts. She also mentors them to better understand financial sovereignty and how to build legacy based organizations. Abby supports visionaries in creating financial freedom by increasing their wealth frequency. She guides people to claiming their power by taking responsibility for their financial well being and deepening their self love and self acceptance. Abby truly acknowledges the wealth potential of every soul and helps translate this in their business. Welcome to the show, Abby.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
I know. So
Mm.
I want to really let the audience know like who you were before you stepped into this because your story is so interesting. And I think it's really important for people to kind of grasp that. So will you share with us that story?
Yeah, because I think the most common question that I do get asked is, are you really an accountant?
Yeah.
Because I don't look like one
No.
and don't act like one. And yeah, so yeah, my career in accounting began when I was 19. So I've been in financial services industry for 20 years. Um, and yeah, I guess I just fell in love with the numbers and business and helping people. And I originally started in my hometown, a small town, uh, and we had a lot of farmers and primary production. So I kind of fell in love with it there and then moved to the big smoke and enrolled into my bachelor's and then just followed I guess, what you think you're supposed to do,
Right.
right? When you grow up, it's, go to school, finish school, go to uni, get a degree, get a career, get the husband, get the kids, get the family, get the things. And yeah, so I spent a long time in my studies working towards my career objective was to have my own accounting practice and working towards my tax agent license because that's what you need to have over here in order to prepare taxes and do all of the compliance. So over the years, I grew and I spread my wings and I did bookkeeping and was CFO and was doing taxes and had other people work for me who had their licenses. And It was when I was two subjects shy of finishing my tax agent license. My whole world crumbled. My husband at the time decided that he no longer wanted to be my husband. And Mother's Day of 2018 was when he left. And my daughter was two, my son was one, and it just completely shattered my world. So my entire career in accounting was up for question because I was so emotionally, mentally, spiritually broken.
Right.
And at that time, you know, the marital debt was in my name. So when he left me with the debt. And I couldn't even work. I couldn't study. I couldn't anything. And I couldn't pay the debt. So I was facing a decision of whether or not I would file for bankruptcy. And if you're an accountant or a tax agent in Australia and you file for bankruptcy, they actually strip you of your licenses and registrations. So my family pleaded with me not to do that because they knew, like I had spent, you know, a very long time working
Right.
towards this career, and there was just I kind of had a bit of a God moment. There was a spiritual awakening. I look back at little accountant Abby, and I love her so much. She's a little NPC. She didn't even realize she was in the game, you know?
Yeah.
She's just like, do what I think everyone wants me to do, you know? And I think that the bankruptcy was the first time that I ever truly made a decision for myself, you know,
Mhm.
despite what anyone else was saying, you know, despite what my professional associates were saying, my family was saying, you know, my friends were saying, they're like, no, don't do it. And like no one was coming in to save me. No one was coming in to bail me out. Like I I I remember having conversations with, you know, some family like, please help, and that help wasn't coming, and I didn't expect it. But you know, I was just taking, I guess, the bull by the horns and going, you know
Right.
what, I'm just gonna do this and everything will be okay. I just have this feeling. And my God moment was, you know, I was a little bit distraught after, you know, being a new mum, and my son was still only, he'd just turned one. And it was the first time I was away from my children. And it was really tough, right? It was like this realization that I was no longer going to be a mom full time
Yeah.
and trying to come to terms with that. And I had this kind of breakdown moment in my kitchen, and I was on the floor, you know, contemplating my life, bankruptcy, not having my children, like everything that I had strived for, you know, everything that I had worked so hard and relentlessly for,
Right.
I just felt like was just being stripped back. And there was a moment where a word came through, and I remember it so clearly because it was different. It was like when I was an NPC, like when I was asleep, you know, it was a brutal awakening, but it was like 1 minute asleep, next minute, bam,
Yeah.
awake. And this word, it was so clear, and it was like outside of me. So I knew it wasn't me. And I was like, what is that? Who is that? Where is that coming from? And it was just like this knowing coming through me. And it was just one word, and it was trust.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, trust. All right. And I think this was like, I don't know, maybe some sort of contract that I made with my soul, with my future self, with God, with source, with universe. It was like trust. And I went, okay.
Yeah.
And from that moment, I trusted. I guess I had this not blind faith, but this faith that I knew I was never going to be there again.
Yeah.
I was bankrupt, right? So financially, in the red, like below the red. Emotionally, bankrupt. I had nothing left to give. I had a whole life of giving, of giving, of I was like the people pleaser,
Hmm.
could never get it right, could never do it right. Like it was just this uphill battle of, wanting people to like me, love me, but just always feeling like I was falling short and
Yeah.
just emotionally bankrupt. I had nothing left, nothing left to give. And I just went with it. And that was the start of my spiritual awakening. And I went on, man, what a ride. These awakenings, I think, it takes a lot of courage.
Hell yes.
Dark night of the soul. Like I've had that many ego deaths, identity deaths, that many up levels and evolutions, and it's like the one thing that I keep coming back to is trust.
Yeah.
Just trust. Some of the most beautiful and most blessed experiences come from your darkest days,
Yes.
but it just requires that trust.
It,
So I had a little break, yeah.
yeah.
And I went on a spiritual sabbatical. And then I came back. I'm like, you know what? I'm the spiritual accountant. And people are like, what? What the hell? What is that? What's a spiritual accountant? Those two words do not go together.
No, no, not at all.
Yeah. So I feel
So
like
tell us
since,
what a spiritual accountant is, because I mean, it is quite the leap, but at the same time, it's like you had to go through all that training and you had to go through all that education. You had a love for the numbers. Like that became a foundation that led you into something that was way more expansive than you could have ever accessed as what we do call an NPC, right? When you're just part of that matrix programming. So
yeah.
let's dive into that.
Yeah, right. It's like, I mean, are we gonna, let's go there. Okay, buckle
Let's
up,
like
people,
just go because
because
here's the thing. She
innocently,
said something to me in the pre-interview that I've never heard anybody channel before. And I know we're gonna get to that, but it's for me, it's like it's so I think it's gonna be a little bit controversial, but at the same time, I totally understand and resonate with what she says. So I just want
yeah,
like let's not hold back. Like let's just rip the band-aid off and go into it.
sure. Sure. Yeah. So it's like everything is divine, everything is perfect, everything is so meant to be. And when I speak this concept, I guess, it does challenge people,
Right.
like, because it's so not what you would expect. But when you let it land, and I just want you to understand before I do say it, where it comes from,
Right.
right? Because I've been a trailblazer, I've been a truth teller. I share a lot about financial sovereignty. Um, you know, 8 years ago, people didn't even speak about financial sovereignty, and now it's
Mm-hmm.
like over here in Australia, it's a thing. I know it's a thing in America too.
Yes.
And it's very practical. But I want to talk about the energetics and the frequency of financial sovereignty because I was innocently indoctrinated into the financial services industry. I spent 10 years studying and practicing accounting, working with money, working with businesses, working in commerce, doing compliance. Isn't that a funny word?
Right.
Compliance, right? Innocently indoctrinated. So, this word that came through in my God moment, trust, was a word that echoed through the next 8 years of deep dives and research. Because when I went bankrupt, I read what was actually happening. And when you go bankrupt, they remove you as trustee and put someone else in place. That is practically what happens. So my accounting brain was like, what trust?
Hmm.
So then that question, that piece of curiosity opened a floodgate. Now, we're not going to go down into the explanations of
Yeah.
that because what I truly want to teach people is the truth about money
Yes.
because that's where it starts. Because in the spiritual and conscious spaces, we have those spiritual teachers who God bless them, right? Everything has a place and a purpose. And I went through all the manifestation things, that chanting like, I love money and money loves me. And it's like, what is your relationship with money? Speak to money like it's your partner, right? How are you treating money? How are you? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, we just, we outsource this power
Right.
to money. And it's like, you've got to vibrate at the frequency of money. And I'm like, so the term cosmic currency first landed for me in 2018. And I was like, huh, what's that? And then I had all these spiritual like connections and, meetings and discussions
Downloads.
with,
Yeah.
yeah, downloads and galactic beings, all the beautiful things. And anyway, one of the things that came through was Abby, an advanced civilization does not require currency. All
Hmm.
of your needs and desires can be met when community works together.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, okay. And then I did deep dives around like Ubuntu. So that's the South African tribal culture, Ubuntu. Everyone in the community contributes, and then everyone's needs are provided for. So I was like, cool. And then I was doing this other stuff, some legal stuff around the bankruptcies and around these trusts. And then I learned the truth about money and how money is created, how the government creates money,
Hmm.
right? Because money used to be backed by gold or silver, but that ended in 1966, where they actually switched it out. And instead of money in our economy being backed by anything of any value,
Yeah.
it's backed by debt.
Right.
So
Which in itself is
dead,
yeah, it's its
debt.
own it's it has a frequency obviously, but it ain't a good
Yes.
one.
Yeah, right. So debt money, I call it, is dead money.
Yeah.
And without going into two sovereignty concepts, but your trust, your estate, you have a Seneca trust, and it's called the straw man, and it's not the living, it's the dead, right? It's the corpse, it's the corporation, the
Yeah.
corpse in the dead world creating debt, right? So there's all this and when I say dead, I don't mean like, I just mean like it's not living,
Yeah.
right? It's just a thing.
Right.
It's just a tool. It's just so all of these people that are like trying to outsource their energy or try and tap into the frequency of money and chant and affirm all these money. I'm not going to say that they're completely false, right? It
Right.
gets you to a certain point.
Yes.
But then there comes a time where you're like, this is, you're forever serving the master of
Right.
money, right? And you completely miss the point. So when I was learning about the living, right? So we are the living, breathing human being, you're not the Sedicate Trust. You're not the corporation. You're not the corpse. You're not the straw man. You're not those things. You're the living. You're the living crown. You are the heir to God's wealth. You were born wealthy.
Hmm.
Everybody born wealthy innately. However, I was dancing with this concept of, well, if we're living and we're born wealthy, like why don't we have everything? Why don't we have all of our needs provided for? Why do we have to pay to live
Right.
on this planet? And I then started mixing these concepts of the dead world and the dead speak and the living world and the crown and the energy. And it's like, oh, I started uncovering. Well, it's all about when you go into like social services, social security. Over here, it's human services, human resource. I was like, this whole economy, this whole like the world of commerce, where we're creating money backed by debt, what's funding that?
Right.
And I did deeper researches into the Australian financial, right? So we've got the debt clock and we've got national debt. We've also got the world debt, right?
Hmm.
America
Yeah.
has debt clocks as well. And what I learned was that debt is not how much we owe the government. The government are public servants. They work for the public. They hold money on trust for the public, and then they go and spend that money.
Hmm.
Not going to open that can of worms.
Yeah, it's a
So,
whole rabbit hole you can go down on
oof,
your own.
yeah. So when I'm like human services, human resources, public debt, the government's holding, there's that word trust. We've got trust. They've got trust. There's fucking trust everywhere, right? Excuse my French. So, what's the deal, yo? I'm like, how do we, like, there's all, it's so intricate, and I couldn't possibly explain all of it. And I'm like, well, what's my role in this?
Right.
And I'm like, well, I have energy. Right? I have energy. I channel energy. We have a Taurus field,
Hmm.
right? We're connected to God's source. We're connected to Mother Earth. We're in the middle, the conduit. We're the physical, right? And it's through our thoughts that we can bring these creations onto this world right now because we're the conduit. We're the physicality. We can think something and then turn it into something real. You
Right.
look around in your room, everything created by humans was first but a thought. So
Hmm.
then I'm like, hang on a second. All these human resources out there, all these humans have energy creating things through business and commerce. And then they sell it and then they swap it or exchange it or trade. Human services are creating trade. So where the energy and the output for that? Okay, so cosmic currency is that it's not actually money is outside of you. It's not that the creation of wealth is outside of you. It's actually in you.
Hmm.
You just didn't know that because you're focusing on money at the forefront. I just need more money. I just need to pay the bills. I just need to get by. I just need to do this. I just need, like, we make decisions. I had a mum dropping her son off to school care, before school care, devastated. And I was talking to her, and she's like, I just wish I could stay at home with my kids, but I have to drop him off because I've got to work. I'm like, would she make that decision if money wasn't even part of it?
Right.
Like, how many people are making decisions because of money? What they have or what they don't have. And it's backwards.
Yeah.
And people feel trapped in that. So I come along and I say, well, money's not energy. It's not. Money is the byproduct of your energy that you are putting out into the world. So you're either working for the man, swapping time for money and getting next to nothing, or you then start to move up that entrepreneurial ladder, right?
Right.
Leave the job, fuck that, move into freelancing. Oh, now I've got a bit of freedom. This is really cool. I'm
Right.
earning more. Then we move up out of that and go, now I'm going to run a business. I'm going to hire people and we're going to do it all, right? Then we move beyond that and go, all right, I'm stepping out of the business now. You guys run it. I'm going to go create more. So then I was like, wow, if you're tuned in to your energy, your frequency, and you know how to use your energy to create, and then all the other energetic learnings that come with that, boundaries and relating and all those sorts of wonderful things. I found a sweet spot where business no longer was business. I wasn't operating in the world of commerce anymore. I wasn't contributing to the dead world.
Right.
I wanted to start contributing to the living. I wanted to start use my energy to create things that help people.
Right.
I wasn't in business for money anymore. I was in business to help people. And it completely shifted. And that's when I connected to my soul star, my soul's mission. I was like, oh, someone had a told me this when I first woke up and it was like, trust. I would have been like, nah, tap out. Sorry. I'll just go back to my cubicle. I ain't. So it's like spirit, God, source, future self, higher self, soul just drip fed me all these little small pieces to the puzzle until I got to a point where I've gone, wow, cosmic currency is like the next evolution of humanity
Right.
through business. Because when you are no longer in business for money and you then shift to being in business for people, for
Right.
impact,
For
for
service.
change, for service, it doesn't matter what it is. There
Right.
are ripple effects of change that you can't even possibly quantify.
Right.
So when you have that shift and then you become the frequency, yeah, I mean, the money just flows. The money
Right.
just like it's this, you're completely detached, to be honest. So you've got to break down all of those attachments and identities. And when you're in survival, we have to be attached because we're in survival and we need money.
Yeah.
So there is an attachment that we have to harmonize.
Right.
But then you get to a certain point where you then detach
Yeah.
because money ain't the goal.
No, and it is a trap, and that's why like I agree with everything that you're saying. I mean, I do believe everything is energy, so I do believe money is energy, but I feel like it's more of a reflection of your energy, right? It's a mirror,
Yes.
and our belief systems are so ingrained from so many from society, from our upbringing, from all of these things. So you're right, there are certain kind of benchmarks for people to get to this space. And so, if you do have a poor relationship with money, or if you do have these certain beliefs, if you are in survival, like you do have to work through those things. You can't
Sure.
just make the leap from, in fight or flight to cosmic currency and understanding that
Yeah.
that's a really
Sure.
big ass jump. But
Yes.
at the same time, you're not wrong. And that's the thing is when you're purpose driven, when what you're doing is for something different other than money is the icing on the cake. It's not your focus. And because it's not your focus, it's not something you're chasing. Just think about that word chasing, and it's not running from you, it's coming towards you, right? But how does somebody, well, first I'm curious, is what was the timeline between you filing bankruptcy and you having this moment on the floor of trust to you actually stepping into cosmic currency and starting to make money or receive money, I should say, without without having to work for the man, if you will.
For sure. So when I first woke up and I was learning all the truth about the economy, I went back to running accounting practice, and I had bookkeepers and accountants working for me. So that was, and I was massaging the concepts of the spiritual accountant, and I was doing healing and transformation work as well, completely separate of each other.
Yeah.
And then I learn about the private sector, and I learn about private trusts, private foundations, and private membership associations. And it was when I actually shifted my focus from traditional accounting and compliance and tax and BAS and bookkeeping. And I was like wanting to really more go down the private realm, go down the not-for-profit realm, the private trust realm, and just completely reshape how I was looking at accounting. And it was in 2019, I remember it was around about August. So a year later, it only took me a year. And I was like, sent a letter out to all of my clients. And I was like, no more. Because while I was giving the energy and the attention to the dead world, is what I was calling it,
Yeah.
and staying in that system of compliance, it was, I was like hitting a ceiling, and it was the ceiling of my career. I could never really crack three or 400K per annum. That was kind of my upper limit. And then I was like, this is just not working,
Right.
right? It's dense, it's heavy, and it's not lighting me up.
Right.
It's like, if anything, it's pulling me away from what I really want to do. And then it was, yeah, I made that shift and I was like, no more. And I just went full whole hog into the spiritual accountant and teaching financial sovereignty. And it just exploded,
Yeah.
absolutely exploded. So, yeah, I went straight to seven figures and consistently, for a number of years. And then I went through another bit of a crumbling and then a rebirth. And it was huge amounts of defamation, and that was a challenging time. So I then learned a lot about respecting of the and responsibility of your legacy and how you actually move with integrity around
Yeah.
that. And yeah, like again, that was like then after that exploded even bigger. So it's like these things come into our world where make a decision.
Right.
You got to make a decision in your business. And sometimes, this is where I see in the spiritual spaces or the conscious spaces, conscious business spaces, is it's moving away from the I, me.
Right.
And sometimes when you're the queen of your queendom or the king of your kingdom, sometimes, when you're stepping into 5D legacy work, 5D business, truly like service to humanity, sometimes you are making decision that is not the best decision for yourself, but it is the best decision for the greater good of everyone else.
Right.
So that's where you're faced with challenges, and that's where you're faced with, well, what decisions are you making? And is it in true alignment with your legacy and with your purpose and with your people? Because those decisions, I mean, I could have walked away I could have been, fuck this, I'm out, man. I'm
Right.
just gonna sort myself out. See you later. But I really just had to anchor deeper to that purpose and that mission. And I think that's the activation of that soul's mission. So, am I done with activations? Hell no. I am a student learning this lesson of
Yes.
life. And all I really care about now moving forward is just giving people hope. And like if I can go from completely bankrupt and broke and broken
Right.
to like the life that I live now is better than what I imagined.
Right.
You know, the visualizations in my early stages of awakening, like they were nothing compared to what my life is now. And I guess that I just thank her for that. I
Right.
thank past me for those experiences and for just those dreams. And then all the lessons along the way, I just want to be good. I
Yeah.
just want to do good. I just want to help people. There's, you know, money or no money. I don't even care. I just want to show up and help people, empower them to realize that they're the true currency. You're the true asset. You are the asset.
Yeah.
They cannot create any more currency in this economy without you.
Well, yeah, and I mean, look at if we look through history, like, there was a point, like you said, where we put the value in the trade, whether that was beans, whether that was gold coins,
Yeah,
whether that was whatever,
exactly.
and cash, or now just numbers on a screen, right? At this point, is where we have been programmed or conditioned as a to place the value. Now, this is we are a part of a collective game, right? So
Yeah.
we have our own field, we have our own story, but we are also contributing and participating in a collective game where we've agreed upon putting that as where we place our value. But an interesting thing when you were talking about cosmic currency, so it was a couple of years ago. They didn't call it cosmic currency, but I forget the name in this moment that they called it. But what you were describing as cosmic currency and how the community everybody kind of supports each other, right? It's a communal thing. My guides that I channel have said this is where we are returning to. This is where we are headed. And in order to get to that space, like there's a whole lot of shit that's got to break down. And it doesn't matter where in the world you are, we're watching that breakdown
Yeah.
happen. And so
Yes.
people like you are so incredibly necessary right now to reteach people what currency and wealth and abundance really means, because even abundance, people think abundance is money. It isn't. It's about getting your needs met. Abundance is your ability to meet your needs. And that doesn't just mean cash money. There's so many other ways. And so I feel like the work, all of us that do that with the channeling and this work of being of service is going to become so much more important over the next 5 and 10 years. But for someone who's listening and who's like, how do I make, like, what are some beginning things I can do to help start to shift myself
Mm.
from this attachment and this need of, like, I need money to pay rent, to feed my kids, to do these things, into the space of I am the currency. And like, what are just a few things that people could start to do to just begin that
Sure.
path?
For sure. So I bring it back to your soul's value. So we all have a soul's value, which is made up of heaps of different things, but it's how you show up in the world, really, right? So how you're showing up in the world right now, is the best that you possibly can with all the resources that are available to you right now. So if you want to increase money, if you want to increase physical money, you have to look at your value. You have to look at, well, what skills do you have? What talents do you have? What gifts do you have? What knowledge do you have? And then where do you sit on the awareness scale, on the conscious scale,
Right.
right? Where is your emotional intelligence? So, instead of going, holy shit, I need to like look at all these different areas all at once. I need to change my career to improve my finances. I need to like heal all my money blocks and I need to become a better relationship and I need to go to the gym and like, so I guess I just look at all these different pillars of our life and, we have our environment, we have our food, we have, our self-care, our spirituality, and we have our career, and we have our love and relationships, all these different areas. And usually when you go to personal development, like workshops, I don't know if you've ever done the wheel of life and they're like, and then you've got to like go and rate it. And you know, there's each pie of area, you've got a rating between 1 and 10, 1 being really shit, 10 being the best ever. And like in these conventions, they're like, now go and rate yourself. So then we sit there and we look at this pie with a critical mind
Right.
and we go, oh, wow, my fucking relationship's up shit creek. We're fighting all the time. One. And then it's like, oh man, I still can't even figure out how to eat. Like I'm getting Maccas every day and blah, blah, blah. Like one. And it's like, oh, I really love my job though. 8. You know, so we've got this critical mind that we go and assess ourselves. And then you finish up with this pie, this circle of life that is, if you like then draw around all those ratings, it's like so disjointed.
Yeah.
And I just think, well, that's a manipulation tactic to get you into personal development, and I don't
Right.
rate it. I actually like to look at your life from a place of wholeness. Right? So if we could just look at all the areas of your life, not with a critical mind, with a like, what do I value the most in this part of my life? Okay. I look at my work and I go, what do I value the most there? Well, I'm doing it because I can. But just because I can doesn't mean I should.
Right.
Maybe we could look at something over there, you know, or, you know, my relationship needs improvement, my communication skills, you know, but I actually really love the shit out of my partner. So happy. So then we want to sort of bring about more balance to the whole spectrum.
Yeah.
So when you've got that and it makes more of a circle, you can find the fullness in your life right now.
Yeah.
You have to find the fullness now. Because if you're looking at all of the lack that you have and the problem here and the problem there, you're missing the point.
Right. I mean,
You know,
what you
you,
focus on, you feed. What you focus on
yeah,
expands.
yeah. So then when we have this new perspective of fullness and now your fullness circle might be all at a 3. Your energetic capacity for all areas of your life in its fullness is a 3.
Yeah.
Great. That's your contribution to the world. You don't have to be a 10. Just be happy that you're at that 3. And you're like, well, okay, now when I look at myself with this fullness, what area of my life could bring all of it up to maybe a 4 or a
Right.
5? What do I need to do to improve the wholeness? So it might be, well, maybe sometimes I give too much of myself and not enough to me because I can't show up in all of these areas if I don't have a full cup.
Right.
And it feels really counterintuitive. You know, like we're so naturally prone to, you know, especially as mothers, everyone else
Hmm.
first, we're last.
Which like I'm a firm believer in what I've channeled, which is you teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. So if
Exactly.
you're always putting yourself last, you're teaching other people you come last. And
For
I'll never
sure.
ever forget that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with my daughter, man, I want her to be fierce
Right.
and know who she is. And there is actually, I guess, in this journey of self-discovery and self actualization, and you know, when you start from a place like myself where I was bankrupt,
Right.
right? Completely outsourced everything. I was below the red. Like it was so far. So I call it like when you want to put into your cup, it's like a bank account.
Hmm.
And when you have a whole life of people pleasing, letting people walk all over you, all the things, no boundaries, leaky as fuck. Like all these withdrawals are coming out of you. And that's why you're bankrupt because you
Yeah.
just give, and you're giving more than you even have,
Right.
but you just keep doing it. So when you then go and put a deposit in, right? And it could be the smallest thing. For me, it was compliments, right? So I realized that I didn't have self-worth when I couldn't take a compliment. Like someone would compliment me and I'd have to give it back, or I'd
Deflect or,
reject it,
oh yeah,
or I'd,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I couldn't even take a compliment.
Right.
So I had to learn to take compliments. So I kind of flipped the script on myself and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to practice giving compliments because the universe always works in perfect balance and harmony. And I couldn't receive a compliment. Well, if I can't receive, I probably don't give
Right.
either. So I'm going to go and give compliments, but I'm not just going to give compliments because I'm trying to trick myself into self-worth.
Right.
I want to be genuine. So when I would interact with someone, I gave myself, a month, 30 days. It takes, you know, 28 days to form a new habit, right? It takes 90 days to really make it unconscious.
Yeah, to embody it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started giving compliments, but I would really be present with people and be like, I'm not just going to give a compliment for the sake of it. I
Right.
want it to be something heartfelt.
Right.
So then what I started to see happen was as I was giving it intentionally and from my heart, the best that I could at that time. I started to see a bit of a shift that when someone would compliment me, I would then project my own experience because we're all egocentric and we
Right.
project. I would project my own experience of being genuine and be like, oh, that person's giving me a compliment. And because I'm genuine, they have to be genuine too. Like, so I would be like, thank you.
Right.
I will take that. And that just put that deposit back in. Now, at first, eh, it felt really odd,
Uncomfortable.
weird,
Yeah.
uncomfortable. And that's because when you're bankrupt and you put a deposit, you're putting a deposit in, but you're in the negative. So you put that deposit in and you go up, but you're still in the negative.
Right.
So that's why it still feels off.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to be committed and devoted to our journey and to our evolution and keep putting those deposits in.
Right.
And this is where I feel that after time and building that self-worth, confidence, self-esteem, it got to a point where I was like, oh, don't even notice. It just now becomes the norm. It's
Yeah.
like I just give compliments, I receive compliments. It's a form of communication and witnessing.
Yeah, I am the same way. And how I do it is if I'm walking or I'm at a restaurant or I'm doing anything and in my head, I notice somebody and I think, oh my gosh, they have beautiful hair, beautiful eyes, or love their outfit. We have these thoughts in our head as we walk by people. I just started saying it out loud. I just started telling them, or I'd get up from the table and I'd walk over and whisper in their ear, and then just walk away. And most people receive it really well. Some every now and then you get someone who's like kind of weird about it, but that's their thing. But
Yeah.
I remember, gosh, it's probably 4 years now. I was actually sheltering in a tornado warning, and I was just sitting there. I was in such peace, and I heard, I don't remember the exact words, but this information started to come in. It was from me I had recently given a compliment. And it's like understanding that what you see in another, if you can see it in another, it's because you can see it in yourself. You're just not recognizing that. And so it's easy for you to see it in another, but you've been conditioned to not see it in yourself. But if it wasn't true for you, you wouldn't be able to tell it to somebody else, right? So if
Exactly.
you can say to someone they're beautiful, you also know that you're beautiful. It's just that there's a programming, there's a mask, there's an identity, there's a conditioning that has not allowed you that permission to say that you are. But you wouldn't be able to see it in someone else if it wasn't also available for yourself. And I loved that so much. And so it is a great place to start. And the other thing I was thinking about when you were saying that is I have filed bankruptcy twice in my life. And the interesting thing was you were saying something, there was something that clicked for me is like, everything is a mirror, right? And so every time, the two times I filed bankruptcy, I literally was emotionally bankrupt. I mean, I was like beyond emotionally bankrupt. And I was like, well, no wonder I had to file bankruptcy. No wonder I was so far in debt, right? Because again, overgiving and not allowing myself to receive, not putting myself in a position to receive, feeling like, my programming was, if anybody gives me anything, I owe them, right?
Mhm.
And so I never allowed myself to receive because then I felt indebted. This was my parental programming that came in. Everything was held over my head. And so I lived from the space of I'm only, I have to give, 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 give. And I only received, this much. So yes, I was always in fucking debt. I was always in the red. And so I just wanted to throw that 2 cents in there for people if anybody was struggling and connecting those dots, because that's huge in
Mhm.
itself. Like
Mhm.
so huge in itself
Mhm.
and such a great place to begin that process, of really tapping into your worth and knowing what your worth is.
Yeah, because your financial decisions do stem from your worth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the decisions that you make around money come from what you believe you are worthy of
Yeah.
and what you are capable of, so self-esteem and the confidence, right? Confidence is the ability to receive, worth is the deservingness of it,
Yeah.
and then the self-esteem is that, you are the value that creates that,
Yeah.
the value that you put out for that. So I think if there's any one area of demographic that I just really love helping is, you know, I feel a lot of women, they go through financial trauma,
Huh. Yeah.
like massively. And whether there's all variations of it. I speak to so many women in financial trauma, and it's whether, their husband receives and they don't have any control over the bank accounts, and then they pop a couple of kids out, and then it's like, then what?
Right.
They've just spent the last 10, 15 years having kids and raising a family, and then, they question their worth and what their role is. And, it's so we're then conditioned and some women indoctrinated into that hyper independence and I don't need no man to make my money. And
Right.
then that's a trauma response in and of itself. And it's like there's so many variations of it. And, if there's anything like, I think it was the realization for me that it doesn't matter. You can take everything.
Yeah.
Like you could take everything from me. You could take my house, my car, my kids. Like you could take everything. You could take my businesses, my everything. I don't care because I can rebuild.
Yes.
And, I'm smart and I'm strong and I'm creative and I'm compassionate. And it's like, the system, right at this particular point in time is trying to bankrupt me again, which I've successfully blocked. And we're going into some fun times because it's end game. And if you know what bankruptcy is and what they're doing and how they're trying to create more currency, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
like it doesn't even, I'm not bankrupt. So I
Right.
know they can't bankrupt me.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting because I think when you speak to people who have been bankrupt before, and what led them there, and then what happened on the other side.
Right.
It was like every time you've gone bankrupt, you've rebuilt, right?
Yeah.
And you've come back stronger, right? Right. So it's like, what if it was actually the tool and the leverage that you needed
Yes.
to make different decisions around your self-worth and your confidence?
I mean, like for me in particular, I am the way that I was for so long. I had to hit rock bottom. I had to
Oh,
have everything taken from me. I was as stubborn as they fucking come. And, the independent woman and I know why I was that way, but I've healed so much of that. But I was that. I had to have everything taken from me several times. I had to hit rock bottom several times to allow myself to reach that level of surrender and detachment that I don't see for me in particular another way I would have ever allowed
yeah.
myself to get to that point. And so that's why, I always say, the guides always say, everything is always happening for your benefit, even if you can't see it, because it is teaching you something if you allow it to, right?
Yeah.
And so some of us have to get to that space. So if you're one of those people like me who have to get to that space or had to in the past, that's okay. Like what you
Mm.
do with it is what matters, right? When you're sitting there on the floor of for me, it was the closet, not the kitchen, but sitting there, that's
Mm.
when you're most open to receive and listen to whatever it is you call it, God, the universe, your guides, your higher self, whatever it is, you're most open and you're most willing to accept a miracle. And the miracle is just you realizing that you are the source of everything, really, honestly.
Yeah.
That's what the miracle is I'm the
Yeah.
source. And that was for me. I was like, oh shit, I'm perpetuating this. Oh shit, I'm creating this. And it's like, okay, and that's a hard pill to swallow. It's a hard thing to look at in the
Mm.
mirror. And then you have to get up and you have to take one baby step at a time and just start the process, of becoming a different version of yourself. And it doesn't happen always overnight. But in you, interestingly enough, when you said you're like, it just exploded, you had already had this love for numbers. You had already had a love for accounting, right? So
Mm.
part of your passion was already there. And then this whole thing, this cosmic currency, this information coming through these rabbit holes you went down, it just fueled that. And
Mm.
when we follow our highest excitement, it's
Mhm.
so magnetic that it's like moth to a flame, right? Everybody's just like, what is that? Who is she? What is she talking about? And so for me, it's like, I always want to tell people, like, what are you fucking excited about? It doesn't even matter what it is. Whatever you're excited about, find a way to do that. Because it's just going to magnetize your entire life. So just find something that is even if it's a tad bit more exciting than anything else, and find a way to do that. Even if it's on the
Mhm.
side, even if it's a hobby, fucking do it.
Mm.
It will
Mhm.
help.
Mhm.
So what is happening right now? Is this the thing that you're saying they were trying to bankrupt you now? Is this part of the whole FBI thing or the raiding
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of yeah, there's some people that don't like what I stand for and the truths that I've shared. I went a bit loud on TikTok and
Yeah,
went a bit viral. And as a result, yeah, I had the feds raid my home, which was quite confronting. So there's some legal things going on. And I just see it's all part of the process to,
silence the truth.
pardon?
To silence the truth.
Yeah, I've definitely been silenced because there is an ongoing investigation, and I'm respecting that and I'm choosing to remain silent.
Yeah,
But my silence, it doesn't mean compliance, and my silence doesn't mean that I've forgotten everything that I've learned.
right.
You've just got to realize what and who you're dealing with. And it's been a huge, I guess the thing is, there's a lot of people looking for the answers, and they are in that state of fear
Yeah.
and survival. And this experience has been really me letting go of the need to save everyone
Yeah.
because you just can't.
You can't.
And you can, share. I was sharing openly and I was sharing loud and open and it just made me a target. And I'm not here for that.
Right.
I'm here for businesses that are making a difference and positive impact.
Right.
And I think when you're like a bit of a renegade and like fuck the government and da 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 da, there's this fight energy behind it. And, you know, when you're so focused on all the problems in the world, your
Hmm.
attention, your attention is your currency as well.
Yeah.
And I just do not want to be focused on the problems of the world. I want to be part of the solution. So this is where I feel spirit has brought those experiences into my life and I will deal with them, but it's so that I can actually stop focusing on the problem
Yes.
and become the solution and become part of the solution. And it's not one person, there's groups all over the world, there's people all over the world of many different backgrounds, many different knowledge and experience and skills and all the wisdom and I always see it as like everybody's got a seat at the table.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a purpose. Everybody's got a place. There is no competition.
Yeah.
There is not one person on this planet that is more important or less important than anyone else. So I think when we come together and we work together, that's when these solutions can really
Yeah.
come into fruition.
And I think that is such an important thing for you to bring into this because that was me 9 years ago. Like I was screaming from the rooftops, trying to wake people up. I was upset
Mm.
about the school systems. I was upset about all of these things. And I had a business partner at the time, and I remember she said something to me. She said, um, "You are one person and you can't change all of that. So focus on what you can change." And I sat with it and I digested it, and it shifted everything for me because, again, yes, there's people out here who feel like they need to be an activist or that they want to be a truth teller speaker, and you can be. But again, like you said, what you focus on, you feed, it grows, it becomes your reality. And while there's all kinds of things that I could share, it's like right place, right time, right energy behind it. And so now I don't worry about what's going on in the government. I don't worry so much about what's going on in the world. I know that everything's happening in its divine timing and everything's happening for a reason. And my life is just so much better without that
Mhm.
focus. And people get so upset and they're like, what do you do? Well, we got to do something about this. And I'm like, well, if we all got together and did something about it, it would end tomorrow. But guess what? That's not the case. And it's not my role to lead the charge of that. My
Yeah,
job is to be the change and to be the example. And I'm going to focus on me, what makes my life enjoyable, how I can serve. And that's my contribution, right? So that's what I did. And the things that I did, um, you know, I wrote a book for my son, and that ended up getting in the hands of guidance counselors and therapists and things like that.
totally.
That was my way, right? It was
Mhm.
like there's these little ways that I can make a good impact on these things. But again, there's nothing we can do about the bigger thing, right? We just have to focus on ourselves and stay in our lane, and the right people will come to you. They will find you.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm. Agree
Yeah.
wholeheartedly.
So I'm really glad that you had that awareness, and
Mm,
I think it will probably be the thing that keeps you from having to repeat going through an experience of, having that again, because you're right. I'm the same way. The biggest thing I ever learned was for me was if I can trust myself, it doesn't matter what anyone tries to take from me because I
mhm.
know who I am and I know what I'm capable of. And I've already rebuilt so many times. What's fucking one more?
Yeah,
Maybe this time
I
it will be
probably
even better.
will. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I have resided to the fact that I am an ever evolving journey. Like it's just, one chapter closes, another opens, one
Yeah,
book finishes and another book. Like I think I feel like I've evolved 10 identities in the last week. So,
right.
that's the one thing. Change is always going to be happening. And as long as, what I'm doing in the world is fueling positive change, I'm happy
Yeah,
on some level. And it doesn't have to be big the Ben-Hur. It
yeah,
doesn't have to be grand scale. It doesn't have to be like save the masses.
yeah.
Fuck the masses. They can save themselves.
Yes.
Sorry, not
It's
sorry.
none of our, honestly, it doesn't matter what you do. It's not our job to save anybody.
Anyone.
It's our job
Yeah,
to be the fucking example so that
exactly.
people can figure out how to save themselves.
Hmm.
Yeah. We're there to guide, to be a light, not to we're not here to fix anybody or save anybody. And in the
Yeah.
beginning of my journey when I was helping people, I really did believe I was there to save people. Well, guess what? That was a hard awakening too. I was like, "Oh, guess what? I'm not here to save nobody."
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because I
yeah.
just
That's a
got
humbling
clients who kept
experience.
coming back, of like, fix me again, fix me again. And I was like, oh no, this doesn't work. I have to teach them something different. I'm not, they're their own savior. If a question I like to end with is always, if you only had one message that you could share with humanity, what do you think that would be?
Yes, you are the currency. We're the current, we're the charge, we're the voltage, we're the power. You're the currency. And I think when you realize that, you can then take control of your life and then live according
Yeah,
to that.
I love
Mm.
that. Well, tell people where they can find you if they would like to learn more about you or work with you.
Yeah, so these days I'm more on Instagram. I do have a Facebook group called Untethered, or my own podcast show, which is Untethered as well, where I dive into all these concepts and have a little chit chat every week. But yeah, my inbox is always open, and I'm just here to share the message and help empower people. So thank you for having me on your podcast and this
Yeah.
platform. I really, really appreciate it and love that. I just feel like cosmic sister.
I've loved it. I've been waiting ever since we had our pre-interview. I was like, I'm so excited for this show because I loved your energy and I was like, people really need to hear this, really needed to
Mm.
hear what you have to say. So I'm really glad that we connected and I'm sure we will stay connected. And
Yeah,
I just really appreciate your time.
yeah,
So,
thanks.
all right, you guys, I will see you in the next episode. Hey, thanks for listening. This episode was brought to you by johannaburkhart.com, where it's time to defy the limits of your mind and step into your multidimensional mastery. Don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. See you next time.